Did you know at the time when you released, like when you did Siamese Dream, did you know the songs that were going to be the big hits? Did you have an inkling of that Disarm would be a big song? Or tell me about that. When you finish a record, or are you just over it when it's done?
Well, that's complicated because the process of making the record was torturous. And
That particular one, right?
Well, because we had signed to Virgin. They put us out on Caroline first. We had the biggest independent album of all time.
Yeah.
Gish.
Yep.
But we're basically kind of a psych jam band, right? They wanted to re-release the record on Virgin, and I fought that. So I basically stuck my foot and said, let me make a record that would be more apt to the atmosphere that exists now, which is, let's call it the post-Nirvana Pearl Jam era, where everything's on MTV. And Gish was not made of singles. You know, Rhinoceros was 5 minutes long.
Yeah.
Shiva had like this long art breakdown in the middle. So we knew we had to write a pop record, but we weren't a pop band. So we did our best effort to write songs that we thought would maybe work in that atmosphere. Disarm, it wasn't like there was a song like Disarm on the radio.
No.
There wasn't a song like Cherub Rock on the radio.
No.
Today was maybe kind of sort of like other stuff, but it wasn't like, you wouldn't say Today was like, smells like Teen Spirit.
No, nothing like it.
We felt outside pressure to make a grunge record, and our reaction was to go, we're not going to make a grunge record. We're going to make a Smashing Pumpkins record, whatever the hell that meant. So we went to the nines to figure out a language that was wholly our own, the shoegaze influences, whether it was Deep Purple or Sabbath, or we got a ton of shit in reviews when Siamese Dream came out because it was overproduced.
Whatever that means.
Well, in 1993 terms, it meant we were trying too hard. And
it's ludicrous when you look back at it.
Now,
Yes.
I mean, with everybody auto-tuned to shit.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, we were overproduced. So, of course, I doubled down in interviews and said, no, we were just trying to do Boston and Queen. Which, by the way, is not something you're supposed to say in alternative circles in 1993.
I remember when you said that, and I love that. It was so honest and so...
and it was true.
And true, yeah.
Because I was like, if I'm going to make a record, I'm going out like Tom Schultz. I'm not going out like Kurt. You know what I mean? I'm going out like Tom Schultz. That was, in my mind, that made sense to me.
Right.
But we took a lot of junk for that because somehow layering guitars was something you weren't supposed to do, or using strings, and we were criticized for using strings.
Well, you used strings on Daydream, on the first record, so...
Yeah, but the way we used strings on Disarm, that was too something. And I was like, it's Glenn Campbell, it's John Paul Jones on the Mellotron, on the Zeppa. I mean, what's the difference?
Okay, so take a song like Cherub Rock, which is another signature drum part. So that one... Like, what was the genesis for that?
So Butch and I had a conversation about this where he thought, but I always thought it should be a conversation between the hi-hat and the ride cymbal, right? So, do it.
Jimmy, when you do those da 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 da, they're so even and they sound. This is from just practicing this stuff. They're so powerful. Da 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 da. Just with one hand. Yes.
Yeah. I play a lot. I can hear the difference between. There's a little more intensity in it doing
With one hand, yes.
You know, it's like down picking as opposed to. It's like down picking instead of down and up picking.
That's exactly the analogy I was going to make right there. Yes.
Yeah. So you know, if you see James Hetfield,
right, those downstrokes,
who I'm in awe of.
Oh my God, his parts! I don't know how he plays them.
Yeah, but it's so clean, right?
So clean. Oh my God, it's unbelievable.
And then you see guys trying to do that stuff where they're down and up picking, and it's not even the same song.
No.
So I do a lot of things with my left hand. I had broken my wrist while I was in a kind of a deep practice phase playing football. I think it was in 8th grade. So I practiced a whole summer with my right arm in a cast. I would just stick the stick in here so I could play like this, but I got to be a pretty left-hand heavy hitter.
I'd like to take a second to talk to you about this channel. This is actually Rick Beato 2. I've had it since the beginning of my main channel, and many of you are not subscribed. As a matter of fact, 87% of the people that watch this channel regularly are not subscribed. So I encourage you to hit the subscribe button on this channel and on my main channel. This will help me get even more of my dream guests and help continue to grow both channels.
We're talking about layering guitars. What kind of frequency can you bring that's not already there? And that just had this thing on the top, but it was musical too. It didn't hurt, you know. Didn't hurt your ears when you cranked it up.
Now, once again, this with the drums, it's that kind of push-pull from section to section that makes it so exciting. If this were done nowadays in Pro Tools like people do and they grid everything, it would have no vibe at all.
Yeah, and you can hear there's no click on this. It starts out, we probably ran a click at the start, the very intro, just so Billy could get the guitar. I can hear it speeding up, but it doesn't matter.
No,
it feels like
so much vibe.
Humans playing music. And yeah, a click would destroy that push-pull, which is a magical thing they have.
So this record ended up being a massively big record. When Billy came in, did you know that this was going to be a big record?
Well, getting back to what I was talking about, the pressure that we were starting to feel, I had gone down in the summer before we started the record to hang with Billy, and he was going to play me demos. And so I picked him up in my car, he hopped in, and we were driving around suburbs and neighborhoods of Chicago, and he'd play a song, I'd hear a little bit, and then he'd stop it. And I go, let me play something else. And I go, what's that called? And one of the songs was Rocket, I remember that. And he played maybe 5 or 6 things, but he'd start playing things and then stop right away. And after about 45 minutes, I was like, you can just let it play, man. I'm not being critical, I just want to hear what you're doing. And he said, I'm not done writing. He said, I just realized playing all these songs for you, I'm not happy with where we are, and I need to write more. And that would have been another 6 months of hang time while I just waited while he kept writing. In that 6 months, he wrote Today, Cherub Rock, and Disarm. At least those 3, and Mayonnaise, I know, were all written in that time going up to that, because he just felt like he had songs, but he knew that the whole record had to have great songs all the way through, and it had to have a kind of an epic feel to it. So I was cool, man. I just said, I'll just wait. So we had a studio on hold. I think it was Triclops, and I called and said, hey, can we put this on hold until we know we have the songs? And they're like, sure. You know, they were totally cool about it. So we just delayed it 6 months, and it was all for the better.
So that record, massively big record. Now, did you think, how did this happen? Or just that these guys that you worked with, these bands just had amazing songs? I mean, what are the chances, right, that you have these huge records back to back?